Hello, this is Howie, and in this video I'm going to demonstrate the pop can stove. I just completed this project using 3 pop cans, and in the description of this video I'm going to give you a link that'll show you step by step how you can make this same little stove. It's also referred to as the alcohol stove because you can use alcohol for the fuel. I prefer to use something else. People use rubbing alcohol, whiskey. You don't want to use gasoline, of course, but the fuel that I use here is heat. This is Gasline antifreeze and water remover. You can get this at the automotive department at Walmart, or you can go to another auto parts store, and this works very efficiently and is preferred over all the other things that you can use for the fuel. So I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. In the description of this video there'll be details on how to create this, and here I'm just going to tell you what you need, and we're going to fire it up, see how it works. So in order to make one of these you need at least 3 pop cans. You'll need one for the bottom part, one for the top part, and then there's an inner chamber that's made here, and you'll take a 3rd can and cut the top and bottom off and use that piece of metal to make an inner wall chamber. So now the reason that I prefer this model, there's some other ones where you just put the 2 bottoms together and punch holes in it. There's other models that have a wick and use fiberglass in here. Well, you have to buy more materials for one. Even though the wick may be soaked, when the fuel starts to be consumed, you don't really know how much you have left until the fire goes out. Here you've got the open vessel, and you can see exactly how much fuel is left in there as it burns. So, and you don't have to use any other materials except the cans themselves. So there is another type of stove out there that works better in cold weather and in bad weather. The only downside about these is that the wind tends to blow them out. So if it tends to be windy, you can use what's called the Fancy Feast stove, and that's a Fancy Feast can. It has a smaller, like tomato paste can, and uses a carbon wick. I'm going to merge this video with another one to show you that kind of stove, and that would work. It actually burns longer and has a higher flame on it, and that might work better for you. But out of the 2, this one is very fun to make, and you'll see how it fires up here. I wouldn't recommend putting something on here because, I mean, it could hold the weight of a small pot or pan. Some people put nails across the top, but you don't want to risk this dumping over. And some people, when they fire this up, they put some of the fuel around it to prime the can. Well, you don't want to waste your fuel, one. Number 2, you don't want the ground to catch fire and anything to escalate, and you don't want to have to wait for the fire to go down with everything burning around your can before you start cooking or using the heat that comes off of there. So there is another video that I'm going to include that shows how you can make a homemade stand. Now what I did was I wanted something a little sturdy, because I might have a bigger pan, and what I did was I just found this metal fruit bowl at the store, and if I just turn that over, voila, I can almost use it as a grill. But I can put my pot, and the flame will be high enough, the heat and flame will be high enough to reach the cup, and then that way you're not having to put that one cup. What people criticize about this is if you just put a cup there, it could heat it up because these holes are at an angle, but it may put out some of the heat or flame, or it might start coming out the side, and the flames are crawling up the side of your coffee mug or what have you. So that's not necessary. Anyway, the things you need to make this are, I used you need 3 cans first of all for the top and bottom, and to make these holes you'll need a drill with a 1/16 drill bit. Now if you don't have that, no problem. You could just use a simple push pin, a tack push pin, and you can punch these holes around there. You want a steady, sturdy razor blade cutter. This was only about $8 at Home Depot. It actually locks It's got a clip on it. It's pretty nice. Had a lot of blades. You don't want to use those cheap blades that snap off, and you don't want this thing, you don't want to risk that slipping out of your hand. You want to have a firm grip when you're making some cuts on this during the assembly. For some of the jagged parts, you want to use a fine sandpaper just to sand that a little bit. You want a Sharpie marker, and then some people use wooden blocks, but I just use simply 2 wooden spoons. When you're putting the 2 parts together, you know, you put 1 spoon on top of the other, and I have this heavier one, and then tap, 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 tap to bring those parts down. Some people will spray the outside with Pledge because it evaporates and it'll give it an oily, it serves as an oily lubricant to put the halves together. Most people just take a needle nose pliers and they crimp one of the cans. They just go around every 1/2 inch and just crimp the edge of the half, and then that smaller circumference will fit into the other other half of the can, and it just pushes together. But to bring the inner wall flush, you want to tap that tight, and there you go. You can see 2 holes down the bottom, which allows the gases and fuel to come out the inner wall, and then that comes out these ports. But that's in that other video, and that gives you details about what that's all about and everything. So again, this is the fuel that I use. Right now we're going to fire this up and see how it works. So I've got a pan here layered with foil here, so you know I don't get my stove too hot. So I'll take some of this fuel. You don't have to fill it all the way up. Now you can fill it all the way up when you're camping, so you're cooking, you know, for several people or heating up several cups of water, but we're just going to put just a little bit of fuel here. I'm just going to fill it up halfway for now in there. And we're going to light it up, and then I'm going to turn the light off. It might be a little bit dark on this video, but it'll show the flames and how they're coming out of these ports and everything. So light that up. There we go. Pow. Okay. I may turn the light off and on so you can see the blue flame. You can see it here. And you start hearing it sizzle and hiss because the gases are building up in the outer wall there, and they're going to start coming out those little ports. So it may take just a few minutes. But just to show you how tall that flame is, see the can is about 3, almost 4 inches. So you can see, this is what they call blooming. Starting to heat up there. And this gets super hot. I mean, you could actually put this inside a coffee can if you want, you know, and heat the inside of your tent while you're camping. There it is. You see it? There it is, starting to push out the ports. Now that middle flame's going to settle down just a little bit, and those flames are going to continue to come out the little ports there. So there it is. It's burning away. And I mean, that provides a lot of heat there. Now you can see why you definitely want a pot stand over this, because it may have a tendency to go ahead and just, you know, snuff that flame out, or it might actually diminish the middle flame. And then, you know, when you go to reach for your cup, I mean, you might get burned, or it might make the the cup too hot, it's better just to go ahead and boil water in a smaller pan on top of a pot stand and then pour that into your mug, that kind of thing. But this is a very efficient. Now, the reason why I said that I like this model is that you can actually eyeball and see the fuel level in there. When the flame starts dying down, you can simply, you have to be careful. I wouldn't recommend pouring more fuel on it while it's lit. That's just extremely dangerous. Some people do that even when they're barbecuing, and you'll have a flamethrower. The flames can reach up into the bottle that you're pouring. So you want to practice safety, and you can just go ahead and blow it out. Sometimes these won't even blow out because they're so efficient and the flames are so strong. So you can just simply take a